Hey guys, let's take a look at Honda rear drive systems. So in this video I'm going to go over, well, it's on my HRX, but I've done a lot of Hondas and it pretty much all end up the same way. If you have a Honda with a drive system, it's going to be rear wheel drive, and as is common in Honda and also Toro and pretty much any rear wheel drive system, so this video really applies. You got to pull it backwards and it doesn't want to go. Maybe even the tires won't even spin anymore, and maybe you know, it won't even go forward. And certainly, like on mine, I know when it's starting to happen is when you go to move the adjusters and they're just fighting you. I actually started to bend one of the spring steel adjusters from just really trying to force it. So this is a definite problem, one that we can fix with some really simple stuff and tools, and we're going to clean it up. I have here a bunch of things that I used and that you can use as well, and we'll get into that. We're going to get into a little bit why I think grease is probably your best option. And one that I forgot to mention, which I don't actually have here, is white lithium grease, but preferably white lithium grease. I got a product here that is called Lubricating, and this is also white, and I've had this around for a while. It is a really, really good product. It's a multi-purpose grease, but it's for all types of bearings, but mostly what they call like plain bearings. It is a high pressure lube. It's not a dry lube, but in a way, it's like a cross between a grease and a dry lube. Now, I have used dry lubes in the past. I don't recommend it for this because they have no way of sealing out the debris that's going to wind up inside. And we're going to take a look at this machine, and we'll go over why. I think that I've had these machines personally. I've owned one of these machines for over 10 years, at least 10 years, and then the other one for several years. I have two of the same ones. I've had a lot of Hondas, and I've tried this different ways, and I come back to the grease. Next year I'm going to try the white lithium, so we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, let's get into the video, and we'll talk a bit about how to clean it out, how to get it going again, and what I like to use and why. I'll see you guys there. All right, time for just a little cleaning. I gave it a good cleaning, just a good rinse. It was mostly just dirt. But this is why I say, right, grease is better, right? All that sand is in there. And you see it all in here? We'll go over to the other side too. That sand and that silt, with dry lubes, it's going to just get in, and it's already started to give me some problems pulling it backwards. It's only been about a year. Let's look at the other side. It's in the sun, so you'll see it better. So this is just more of a chain wax and a dry lube, and the grease will seal that out and suspend the rest of it, the dirt, so that you still have lubrication. Those thin lubricants, right, they can't do that, and they can't suspend any of the dirt. So basically all you have is some thin film that's long gone and dirt. All right, let's get this cleaned up. So since we've already washed it, and we've serviced this machine already, but I get a lot of machines in that have just been neglected, and a lot of times I have to pressure wash in here because it's that bad. But this just required a little bit of cleaner and a hose, and we can see it's pretty clean, right? A lot cleaner than it was, but we still have to take it apart. So first thing I want to show you is there's a wave washer, right? And that goes on last, and then we'll have a flat washer. And the reason for that is there's not enough material here, and it's a bit recessed. So if you had the wave washer on first, it would have nothing to ride against. So that's why this gives it a backing for the wave washer. And of course over here, that's where the bearing is, right? So that's how it goes. And the wave washer, you want to say, well, which way does the wave washer go? Well, it goes like this. Okay, the outer surfaces of the cup of the convex, right, they're riding on the washer, the backing washer, and that inner surface here, the inner area here, that's riding on the back of the bearing, or the face of the bearing, however you're looking at it. All right, so observe that. Now what we want to do is we're going to remove this, okay, this gear. And some of you say, well, how do I know which way the gear goes? Well, there are markings on the gear, but don't go by them because sometimes that'll screw you up. But one of the things you're going to notice, especially when you get your gear cleaned, is that this part of the gear right here, the face of the gear, closest to you is what's riding on this gear. And this gear is not as wide as that gear. So the back portion of the gear, and you can see it already, is discolored. I'll bring the other camera in for a little bit of a shot. So you'll see it's discolored, it's dirtier, and it's darker, right? Because the face that's been being worn is more polished. So that goes to the dirty part, the part that's not being run, goes towards the back. And let me grab the other camera real fast, and I'll show you that a little closer. So the part towards the front is getting the most wear, and therefore it's more polished. So that always goes out towards you and away from the machine. And then, of course, I'm doing them one at a time, and I'll show you why I like to do that, because we want to be able to spin this system. So by leaving the other tire on, right, I can come over here and I can do this, see? Now it's clutch, so depending on which way you go. So if I'm on the other wheel, so if I move the other wheel forward, like in the normal direction of travel, it doesn't spin this. It's ratcheting. But if I go backwards, right, it does spin. Now, sometimes I can't do that because I get machines where these are locked. And when they're locked, right, I can't even spin the tires. So then everything's got to come off. So hopefully yours is not that bad. Right, this is going to require one of those tools, but you can try to clean this off with a brush or toothbrush or small brush. Here's an example, right? I take those cheap throwaway paintbrushes and I trim down the edges. And you can go like that with some solvents or whatever. You know, you can use brake cleaner or gum out or gasoline, kerosene. Put a tray down underneath, get it up in the air like this on bricks or something, and just keep washing it and cleaning it. And then you can oil it with regular motor oil, and then you can put grease around it and pack some grease in, and then you should be okay, right? Now, a lot of times that's not enough. So we're going to need one of these tools. It's got these little, it's a C-clip type remover. And I'm just going to put that into the holes, choose the right end so that it fits. And usually you go this way. You're a little bit in my way. Hold on, it's hard because I would normally stand where the camera is. All right, put your finger on it so it doesn't go boing. All right, and you know, with little clips and things like that, it's not a bad idea to lay like a painter's tarp down if you're going to be out on the lawn or something, because if you drop it or stuff goes boing, you're probably likely to find it again. Whereas if you drop it and stuff goes boing and you're out on the lawn, right, good luck. Now there'll be a washer here, right? So if you just pull it forward a little bit, we'll get that washer off. They all have this kind of configuration, right? That's a nice hardened machined washer. Now we got to be careful about pulling this off. There's a little like a Woodruff key in here, and it's sprung loaded. So we want to kind of, we don't know where it is, so I just want to be anticipating it's on the bottom. Okay, it just fell, okay. See, so there's our gear. And again, you can see the difference. And you might even see that it might be a little bit worn on yours. Mine, it's not. With all that extra grease and dirt that was on this one, right, they can wear. Now, some of these backing plates on the better ones, they had a screw that held it in, which helped keep it nice and stable. This one doesn't have it. I might want to put that screw in. I wonder if I have, I wonder what I did with all my Honda rear end stuff. Now, this backing plate should just come off now. And see how the dirt gets packed in here, right? It gets packed all in this area here. And that's where we want to clean really good. And sometimes you can get some of that with the hose. But this is for grease, really. There is no seal. It's just the tightness of the backing plate. And then we're going to pack it with grease, because if you don't pack it with grease, this happens. You get this really bad. And this is after I cleaned it. And so it'll get packed. It'll just get packed with dirt. And that dirt will continuously be applied and work its way into this whole mechanism, and you'll be in trouble. So we're going to clean that in a minute. So now that we've got this off, I'm going to go get some cleaners and solvent. And we don't need very much because I've already done this last year. But we want to get in here. It's actually in pretty good shape. And I'm going to put a tray down and get some more rags and tissues. And we're going to put a little bit more oil on this. And then when we're done, we'll blow it. And then we'll start packing with grease. All right, so I wiped it down and I blew it with compressed air. Now this one's in good shape because, like I said, I did it last year. But just to show you, when they're really bad, what I'll do is I'll take some of my thinners. It's making a mess. And I'll just make sure. Now I want to turn it because I want to show you where the spring is. The spring's right in here. Now you got to take that out. We want to get in there and make sure it's all clean. But mine was done last year and it's pretty clean, so I don't actually have to take mine out. We're going to put some fresh grease in that. Sometimes they're so bad that I got to polish. I already polished these shafts last year with some crocus cloth. But a wire wheel helps. And you can see how the rust is formed because that backing plate was full of dirt and junk. Without the grease, right, that stuff stays wet once it gets wet, and it'll lay up against this and rust everything. Now, another thing we want to do, right, is we want to move this now all the way through its rotation and get some of our solvent in here. Loosen it up. That should be good because this one, like I said, has been used. So, excuse me, it's been cleaned already. So I just wanted to put a little bit in here. Now I'm going to rag it down and blow it off one more time. I just got to be careful about blowing in here because I don't want to lose that spring. So I'll probably just put a little screwdriver over it. We'll just get out the solvent that's in there and we'll pack it with grease in a little bit. All right, now this is where I've seen a lot of people try to argue, right? Don't use oil. Oil is no good. Look, your option is this. You could take this other clip off, the other washer, and try to pull this whole thing off. It doesn't come off so easy. You'd have to make sure that there's no burrs on this shaft. Believe me, it doesn't come off that easy. In fact, you'd have to take the whole transmission out because the bushings and bearings that are in here, they're really bushings. They're going to fight you, and if you can't move it, if it's that bad, then it's a failure. Or if it's really sloppy, they go bad. They actually go bad. So you need a lubricant in there, and you can start off with the solvent. You can put some kind of penetrant lube in there to get things moving, but penetrant is not really a lubricant. We got to work this in. Oil is a real lubricant. Right. Oh, now it's moving nice. Right. It won't move well until there's an oil in there, and you're not going to be able to get grease or dry lube in there. It won't go in. The dry lubes won't work in this situation. Right, they really don't. So I'm going to put a little bit more in, and then I'm going to wipe it and come back and blow it a little bit. Now you can also try to turn the machine on its side. And when some of my machines that I'm working on for customers or for sale, I actually try to put the machine on its side and squirt oil and penetrant in from behind just to get it to move. That's working really good. All right, we're done with that. We're getting ready to assemble it. So I'm going to wipe this and blow it with some compressed air just to get off any excess oils and make sure all in here is clean. And then we'll be back for the assembly. Okay, we can see it's moving well. It feels a little bit better. I'm going to turn that slot up to the top. Now I've cleaned my backing plate and I've greased it. All right, I packed those areas with grease. That's what we want. Now we're going to put this on. And it will seal. It'll push its way in and that will seal. Okay, that's creating a seal all the way around. And we're ready to go. Now there's a washer that goes behind. So we're going to put that in now. And then we're going to put just a little bit inside here. We don't need very much because everything is so well lubed. Because we have so much extra. Which is good, we're using it. Just going to put, while my fingers are all dirty, because I gotta get my hands clean again. I'm going to lube up these washers. All right, let me wipe my hands off. I'll lube up this shaft. All right, we're going to bolt that in. I found the bolts for it. They just stop using them. Sometimes they don't even drill them. You know, if they save a penny, it just has to be the right length bolt so that you don't have an issue when you go to rotate and actuate the lever. And that'll help hold it in there and seal it well. Is it getting tight? Yeah, that's tight. Now we can put, there's that little spring that's in there, and we want to orientate the gear. Well, I can see this is the worn part here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put that down there. I'm going to put my key in place. There's already a daub of grease in there. I'm just going to hold this key down a little bit, and we should be able to slide that on. Right, I'm checking it. I can see that there's the shiny part. Now I just need a little bit of grease. So we want to make sure that this is sealed as well. In our washer. I already cleaned up all this hardware. It was full of dust and dirt and sand. Now the grease is going to suspend that dirt, dust, and sand, especially going to keep it out of the inside of that shaft. And because dry lube won't do it, because it can't seal anything out. And then it's dry. And then you're going to have dry sand and dirt and dry lube. So, and like I said, it can't seal anything. It looks like it's on there good. Make sure. Yeah, there we go. Let's make sure it's on there. There it is. Okay. Now we're going to butter up the gear, keep it from wearing. We rotate that. It feels nice. Because it'll wear. That should be enough. And if you want, put a little dollop on and put some towards the back, and it'll pull it around. Right, once we put everything together. Now, one last thing, right, is we got to put our washer on. Remember, our washer goes on first, towards the back, and then the elliptical or spring washer. Let's put a daub of grease there. Now these bearings come out, they can also be replaced. It's getting a little worn in here, some cracks. I did this last year, and I also did it after, you know, after I cleaned with the pressure washer. But we're going to do it again. We're going to put a little oil in. Feels nice. It sounds nice too. A little water down in there. And then also around this way. And we'll wipe it when we're done. That'll work. Now everything is sealed. And some of that grease will get on our bolt. Nice and tight. Done. This side's done. Okay. Now these tires wear out. This one's actually starting to wear. Now it's easy. Look how easy it is to make an adjustment. Right? It fights you. I mean, it's so hard. It's like all your might. And then I've actually bent these spring brackets, the levers, And that's it. And now this is ready to go. And I did my other one. I have 2 of these. I'm selling one. This is all ready to go. And now we'll go do the other side. I'm going to go do the other side. I just wanted to show you this one side, right? Because it would be too long of a video. So we'll be back in a little bit. Since I did the rear, I might as well just give it a quick maintenance on the front. Well, they're on there. And that's not a very good impact. But no matter. So just a quick one. Now I'm going to use some chain wax on here, and I want to show you that this all looks good. Everything is nice and well oiled and lubricated, but we can also use some chain wax in here. So we're going to pull this down. Everything here looks good. I'm just going to blow this out with a little bit of compressed air, wipe it down with a tissue a little bit, and I'll show you the chain wax and just a few little things. Now oil, I usually like to put oil in here, right, as we did before, and then we want to wipe it. So I want to make sure that stays clean. You can also put some chain wax in there. That's really nice to do. The oil is nice when it's a little grovelly. You can actually wash these bearings, and like I said, you can replace them. And then after you get it going, you can put a little chain wax in, and that'll kind of make it more of a solid, more like a dry lube, because it's going to wax up, and it's going to hold some of those oils in. Right, same as before, right? There's a little bit of room between the cover, the seal, and the inside of the bearing. Right, a little grovelly in there. Eventually, we'll have to either replace the bearings and or the wheels. That feels nice. And the same thing here, so we're just going to put, obviously, a little bit on the shaft. Back here on that washer. And then we're going to get in there. And we're going to wipe off whatever, whatever is excess. And it goes in like a penetrant, which is nice. If you want, blow off any excess. It's also really good for any situation to where you want to cover over bad metal, because it'll dry to that wax coating. It's very similar to what's known as Cosmoline. All right, let me wipe that out and we'll put this back on, and we're done. I'm going to do the other side. Now, I remember one year I actually tried some dry lube, graphite dry lube, and it just, I saw wear on the gears, right? It's not, and it was just packed with junk. Right? So there's no way to hold the junk out. There's no way to seal out water and moisture. It's just dry lube. And what happens with dry lube is it can't stick forever, right? So even grease gets pushed out of the way, and the dry lube will get pushed out of the way. And what happens on gears that are exposed like that is it once it's pushed out of the way, the dirt then has nothing, there's nothing holding the dirt out of the way, and then the dirt just coats the gears and they wear, and prematurely. So this is why I say I think grease is your best option, because it does support the sealing part of the mechanism to some degree. It allows grease to stay and stick on there. It'll kind of backfill itself. And that, by the way, is one of the reasons why I was looking a little bit more into white grease. Now, I don't have the spray version. This is just the regular grease. White grease has zinc in it. And so, not only is it good for your bum, right, keep everything nice and dry. And I know they use it a lot in powders and stuff because it reduces irritation. It's kind of have like a slippery effect to it, so it reduces friction. But what it does in the grease, from what I understand, is that it kind of like absorbs a bit of the oils and everything in the grease, and then when pressure is applied, it then sort of releases it, so it sort of re-wets and recoats, in a way, I guess would be a way to say it. Anyway, that's what I know, and that's what I've been through with this thing, and I've seen over doing all these machines. And you know, one of the things I'd like to try in the future, and I've been saying this, is I want to try a moly lube, or the molybdenum disulfide, molybdenum, sometimes it's known as. I used to use a lot of that stuff. We used it in a lot of the custom engines I built over the years. It's a high pressure lube, but I've used it in those machines, but it might work in one of these machines, like in this whole area, you know, in that drive area. But I don't have any right now, so that's something I'd like to try as well. This isn't a high pressure area, though. It's not an extreme pressure area. These are, they don't spin very fast. There's not a lot of pressure. I'd say where the thinner dry lubes would work best is when you have something like a shaft and it goes inside of a bearing or bushing, really, and it's a very tight fit, and this maybe the length is kind of long. I've actually seen some shafts like that where I've applied. Even recently, I was working on a machine where I applied. You can use a Teflon in that situation. You can use, it's kind of like captured. You know, certainly locks and things like that. We almost always put a graphite lube in a lock, right? You want a dry lube in there, but that doesn't last. Nothing lasts. Everything, guys, is always about buying time. Whether it's paint and derusting or lubrication, there's nothing you're going to be able to put in anything that you can walk away and go, I'm done, I don't have to do it again, right? If you're going to have the machine for a while, it's about buying time. And what is it that you can put on or in something? What substance that's going to maybe hit a bunch of bullet points? And I think on this scenario is you want to keep moisture out. You want to try to keep dirt out. If dirt gets in, the grease will help suspend it, and while still providing some lubrication. And I think that's really what we're trying to do. So that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one and got something out of it. I had a lot of fun doing it. And next year I'm going to try just lithium. So I'll see you guys later.